Hey everyone, so now that we're done creating our enemy, now we're going to go ahead and start coding it. So to begin, we're going to click on our yellow events tab and we're going to add when green flag is clicked. This first code is just to help set up our enemy so that later on, if and when we do add our animation, this is already here for us. We're going to go into looks and add a switch costume to costume 1 to make sure that it knows which correct costume we want to start off with. So this is kind of known as our idle costume. So it's the costume that we begin with. After that, still inside of looks, we're just going to add a hide. Next, we're going to go back inside of our yellow events tab, and then we're going to go ahead and add a when I receive to. We're going to go into control, add a forever. We're going to then add a wait. 1 second. And we want to make this random to know when enemies are starting to appear. So we're going to go into operator and add a pick random. And we're going to change this to 0.3 to 0.9. After that, we're going to go into control and scroll towards the bottom, and we're going to add a create clone of myself. Next, just to make sure that our clone is in the correct layer, we're going to add a when I start as a clone. Next, we're going to add a wait 0.1. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure it's in the front layer. Later on, when you're testing your game, if you don't see your enemy, that means that it may be behind a couple of layers, so you might want to add a go forward one. For right now, we'll leave it like this, but when we test it out, if it seems like it still is not showing up, then we'll add that and that should fix it for us. Next, we're going to go ahead and tell the enemy exactly how we want it to move. So we're going to go into control. We're going to add another when I start as a clone. And then we're going to go ahead and add a show. We're going to go into our motions and we're going to add a go to XY. And we're going to add a pick random for the X, since we want our enemy to show up in different points. So the 1 is going to be changed to 240. And the 10 is going to be changed to negative 240. And then our Y is going to be changed to 180. After that, we're going to go into control and add a repeat until. So we're going to go into operators. We're going to add an and. And on the right-hand side, we're going to go ahead and add a less than. So now starting with this diamond shape, we're going to go into sensing. And we're going to see if it's touching the edge. And make sure that inside the blue motions tab that the Y position is less than negative 210. So this code inside will continue repeating until these two are true. So when the edge, so this edge is touching it, and when it's also past it as well, that's when it knows that it can now delete the clone that we have. But when it's not doing that, then we want it to go ahead and move down. So we're going to go into our blue motions tab. We're going to add a change Y, since that's what's going to allow our character to move down. And then we're going to go ahead and go into operators. We're going to add the multiplication symbol. Then on the right-hand side, we're going to do 0.06. And then on the left-hand side, we're going to use the subtraction symbol. And starting with the first bubble, we're going to make this the Y position. And then the middle bubble is going to be 205. After that, we're going to go into control and add a delete to this clone at the bottom. So now that we know this, we need to know when exactly we can go ahead and either lose the game or win the game. And we need to be able to keep track of that for our player so that when later on when we add the game over screen, we kind of already have that set up for us. So to do this, we're going to go into control. We're going to add a when I start as a clone. And then still instead of control, I'm going to add a forever so that it continues looking for it. And then we're going to add two if-thens. Okay. We're going to go into operators and add equal signs to it. And then we're going to go into our variable and we're going to use our dead bubble for each of the empty bubble. The first one will be a 1 and the second one will be a 0. So if that is equal to 0, that means that we are still able to play our game. So we're going to go into looks and add a show. If we change it to 1, then that means that we have a game over. We can go ahead and hide it. Okay. And with that, we are all set. So you can just go ahead and check your code. And it's always good to test out your game. So I'm just going to click on my green flag, click on play, and I see that my enemy is exactly where I want it to be and is acting the same way that I want it to act. So this is perfect. I don't even have to add the go forward one. Again, if you do not see your enemy for whatever reason, that means they might be behind your background. So you might need to add a go forward one layer. But if you don't and you can perfectly see your enemy, then that's perfect. You're all set. And then we can move on to our player.